So what we always kick things off with is we first do our little oath, like Pete says. We will do all that we can to help elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. And we will also do everything we can to help elect Governor Tim Walz as the next vice president of the United States of America. And here's our nice little picture of the two of them. And as you can see, this is basically a map of everywhere where we have Team Pete members signed up to volunteer, to organize, to come to our events. The green states are the states that we don't have anybody in yet. So if you've got any friends in Arkansas or Louisiana or South Dakota, tell them to get on board, get them signed up, get them organized. Or coast to coast. And now I'm going to hand it over to Maggie.
So on the western area of the country, Nevada and Arizona, really key battleground states. Midwest, of course, we know Wisconsin and Michigan, as well as Pennsylvania for the western area of the country, presidency. Nevada and Arizona, other key battlegrounds include North Carolina, Georgia, and New Hampshire for key states. So with that, I'm going to introduce my friend, Alexis Pelosi, who I first got to know through Activate 22. And she is the ultimate democracy warrioress and is very passionate in particular about voter protection efforts and ensuring we have a free and fair election. So with that, I will let her take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Maggie. And thank you so much for having me on tonight to talk a little bit about voter protection. As Maggie said, I am very passionate about voter protection and very passionate about recruiting folks to join in volunteering in the voter protection space. I think that this sign up on the screen, the photo, says it all. When we look at the importance around the country in terms of the upcoming election, ensuring that we have free and fair elections is a critical component to the success that we are all looking to achieve. So next slide. So what I'll say is, we know there is so much enthusiasm right now out there for the Harris-Walz ticket. We see it. I was just recently at the DNC convention. You could feel it in the air. There is a lot of enthusiasm for the ticket. But as we know, enthusiasm alone is not going to win this election. When we look at the numbers really matter. Again, looking at this, right, Hillary in 2016 won by 3 million of the popular vote, but she ended up losing the presidency. In 2020, Biden won by 7 million, but he only won an additional 74 additional electoral college votes. And we know that it all ultimately comes down to the battleground states and ensuring that folks within the battleground states and across the country, right, have access to the ballot. And so that is what voter protection is about. And I want to be very clear that voter protection, anybody can do it. You do not need to be a lawyer to do voter protection. Voter protection is all kinds of different work that we'll talk about quickly, but just wanted to really make it clear that in order to do voter protection work, you don't need to be a lawyer. Next slide. So when we think about the battleground states, right, as everyone knows, these are the 8 key battleground states that we have been identified with to try to recruit volunteers for. And when I say we, so what I've been doing over the past month has been having Zooms similar to this, where folks come on to hear from the state voter protection directors in these 8 battleground states, where they come on and they talk a little bit about their programs, the type of volunteer work that they have, and then we discuss the opportunities to be able to go and volunteer in those states. Just last night, we had our last one where we were focused and concentrating on particular states, and we had Arizona and New Hampshire on, where the voter protection team came and spoke to a number of folks about the different opportunities around voter protection. So these slides come from that, and why it's crossed out the 9 winning combos to 20. That is the difference in about a week and a half from when I did the slides before. There were 9 winning combinations for the Harris-Walz ticket being the winning ticket. And then, in a week later, there were 20 winning combinations. Next slide. And the reason why is because we are, as folks probably know and can see, right, we're seeing movement in the map, but the movement isn't significant in the way that you may think. Right. Again, when you look at this, it goes from the 23rd of August to the 3rd of September. And really, it's the movement that we saw in Minnesota and then also in North Carolina, from North Carolina being a toss-up state now, whereas previously it was leaning R, and now Minnesota going from leaning R to leaning D to likely D. And so, again, the movement here is really around the margins. So what I wanted to talk about, and the reason why I wanted to come on and talk about voter protection, is because voter protection is the work that happens at the margins, right? It is ensuring that, as we know, folks on the other side are really playing shenanigans, right, to try to remove voters from the voter rolls, to take actions such as, causing confusion around the certification. We need to do everything that we can to ensure that when folks show up to vote, right, they are able to vote and that those votes are able to count. And the margins really are critical. So when we talk about, the different voter protection programs, when we had the voter protection director from Nevada on, he reminded me that during Senator Cortez Masto's race, she won by 7,900 votes. The voter protection team cured just shy of 7,000 ballots, which means that those were folks that came in, tried to vote. Their votes didn't count. They needed to go back. They needed to provide some additional information. They were able to provide that information. Their ballots counted. And as a result, right, it's 7,900 to 7,000 ballots cured. And there are countless examples across this country where candidates are winning by 250 votes. And you're out there doing voter protection, and that voter protection work is the difference. And so when we talk about what voter protection work is, for those who aren't aware, it is things like poll observing, being an inside poll observer, being an outside poll observer. And that's just the eyes and ears on the ground. It's things like hotline. So working the hotline where people call you, you're providing a manual and some training, and you're answering questions to help ensure that folks understand how to vote, and providing them with accurate information in terms of voting. There's volunteer recruitment calls. There's ballot curing, like I talked about, where we know that ballots haven't been able to be counted. There's a way to be able to fix them, and you call the voter to be able to help them. You can do this in person. You can do it remotely. There are so many different opportunities. And what I also really want to emphasize here is the importance of doing this work with the state party. So there are lots of different wonderful organizations out there doing volunteer work, and also doing volunteer work in voter protection. And so, the key to working with the party is ensuring that, as there are trends that are happening across the country, that the voter protection teams can see something that may be happening in one state could be duplicated in another state. So to be able to have that early knowledge and understanding. Then the other part about working with the party, so whether that's, the PA Dems, whether it's working for the National Voter Protection Team, whether it's working for Arizona Dems, you are the eyes and ears on the ground, and you are providing valuable information that can be used if there needs to be a challenge that is raised, as well as to rebut a challenge. And also, we have had voter protection folks on the ground for well over a year in a lot of these states, as well as for some for years. And so they have built up relationships with the elections officials. And so when something is happening and going on, they know who to pick up the phone and call. And so again, doing this volunteer work is critical And it's important to also make sure that you are volunteering for the actual party itself, so that when lawsuits are filed, when we need to respond to a lawsuit that is filed, we have information, and we also have a network of folks across the country that are doing this work. So just a little bit about voter protection. As I said, I have hosted a series of Zooms. I'm going to be hosting a few more. We go into a lot more detail. This sample calendar is something that I had prepared for that. It talks about if you're interested in voter protection work, to give a sense of what to do. So in September, right, to attend a recruitment event, maybe participate in a volunteer recruitment, do the hotline. And the idea is to pick a state. This work is always so much more fun when you do it with friends, like all the folks on the call tonight. And so, pick a group of friends, pick a state, and then jump in, and volunteer, whether that's in person, whether that's remote. There are so many great opportunities. And if you are interested in voter protection, you can email me. My email is there, and we'll put it in the chat as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and then also connect you with any of the states that are doing critical voter protection work. I saw in the chat earlier that someone has already signed up to do voter protection work in 2024. I did it in 2020. It was some of the most rewarding volunteer work that I've done, helping to ensure that people have access to the ballot and are able to vote, and then answering questions and being able to resolve challenges that voters may have. And it is very rewarding, especially if you come from a very solidly blue state, to be able to go somewhere else and to see, just the sheer joy and, how hard and challenging it can be in other states to vote, that we may take it a little bit, for granted, in the sense around in California, it was very easy to vote and to cast my ballot, and then to go to other states where you often have to wait in long lines in order to cast your ballot. So it can be a very rewarding experience, and just really want to encourage folks to think about volunteering in voter protection, because it is really, it's at the margins. We know that that's the critical work that needs to be done. And we need a lot of volunteers and boots on the ground out there doing this work across the country and in the key battleground states. And so that's it. I have my email, which I'll put in. We have 2 additional general information sessions that are coming up, where we have a slide deck and we have folks in the voter protection teams. And we'll also be able to highlight some of the key needs that are out there in the battleground states right now. And so if you have any questions, email me. And if you're able to join the Zoom to learn a little bit more about voter protection, and voter protection in particular with the state parties and the coordinated campaign, that would be great. And then I know you guys have a wonderful lineup today. And when I was prepping for this with Maggie, we talked about how I was at the DNC, and I had this sticker, which people can see, but 4 in 24. And so coming from the DCCC, and so I know you have some great congressional candidates that are coming on to talk with you guys. And I just wanted to say, I love the slogan, 4 more in 24, right? Getting 4 more House seats.
Well, let's make it 24 more in 24.
24 and 20. It says 4 more.
I know. Let's get 20. Let's get a real good one.
Oh, I am all for getting,
yes.
24 more in 24. The slogan is 4 more in 24, and it's very exciting. And thank you so much for having me. Anyone who's interested in volunteering, please reach out and let me know.
Amazing. Alexis, thank you so much. Such important work that you're doing. And thank you. It's a pleasure to have you on here. Thank you so much. So with that, I'm going to introduce our first House candidate. Laura Gillen is just a tremendous candidate and all-around fabulous person, as you can see from her bio here. I had the pleasure of listening. She is one of the top 11 candidates that Simon Rosenberg has highlighted as key races to flip. I had the pleasure of listening to her interview with Simon a couple weeks ago, and said, oh my gosh, we've got to absolutely get her on. And just for the quality of the candidate, the importance of a race, and just absolutely the quality of the person she is. Just to give you one quick little factoid that I had to do a double take on. Following out, after college, she went and worked with Mother Teresa in India. So that gives you the type of a sense of the type of person she is. So with that, Laura, I will let you take it away, and we will give you the full screen in just a minute once you've had a chance to introduce yourself.
Great. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Maggie. Thank you for inviting me on tonight. I'm so glad to be here with all of you. If it's a little noisy in the background, I'm joining you from my own fundraiser here in New York 4, where we just had Greg Meeks show up, and he's been coming to my events and coming to my office openings because this race is so critical to determine who's going to have the speaker's gavel in the new Congress and who's going to be in the majority in the new Congress. This is the most flippable seat in the entire country. We have a significant registration edge, but things on Long Island have trended a little red. You know, New York was a state that went wrong last cycle, but this is the year it's going to be the state that goes right. I assure you we're working really hard to make sure we flip this seat, not just for the House, but also to make sure that we get all of our Democratic candidates elected up and down the ballot. I know we're talking a lot about call banking, and I heard talk about voter protection. These things are critically important. We cannot win these races without the support of our troops on the ground. Whether you can do 1 hour of phone calls, whether you can do weekends of phone calls, whether you can knock on doors, you can write postcards, you can go and do voter protection. I know in my district we've had a lot of issues where the Republicans go, particularly to our communities of color, and try to tell people that they're not registered to vote. We've had really bad issues with that here. So the work that you do and your volunteer time is so valuable and so precious to helping folks like me and the other candidates. And as Sue is joining, helping us get elected. But I am really, really excited. I feel like there's been so much great momentum since we've had the hope and change with Kamala at the top of the ticket. There's just really great energy on the ground in this district. We are working hard every day, knocking thousands and thousands of doors. And so I'm just so grateful for all of your support. I don't know if we're doing Q&A, if I'm supposed to be brief.
I'll just give you a quick, where exactly is your district? And can you explain the dynamics quickly of your race?
Sure. So my district is in New York 4. It's on Long Island. It's the south, for those who know Long Island, it's the south shore of Nassau County. It is a district where I grew up. I was born in the district. I lived here for most of my life, lived in Manhattan, lived in India for a little while, lived in Thailand for a little while, but came back. I'm raising 4 children here. I was the first Democrat in 112 years to be elected Town of Hempstead supervisor. Hempstead Township is the largest township in the United States. We had almost 800,000 residents, $500 million budget. And again, I was the first Democrat in 112 years to win that seat. It comprises most of my congressional district. It falls within the Town of Hempstead, so I have strong name ID here. It is a district where we have a registration edge of about 12 percentage points. If Democrats show up to vote, I win. We just need to make sure we're not out-communicated on the doors or out-communicated in paid comms. So that's why I'm working so hard. And thanks to everybody who has supported me with Hopium. I really appreciate your support. This is the most expensive media market, so your dollars are going a long way to help us bring home the W in November.
Amazing. And for those that are in the Bay Area, you are going to be coming out for a fundraiser. I believe it's September 29th. And I believe one of our Team Pete for Harris-Walz amazing grassroots volunteers going to be hosting you in Hillsborough. And so I will hope to meet you there in person, and other folks. I think we'll post the link to that, as you and Sue will both be there. So great opportunity to meet these 2 fantastic people and really impressive candidates. So thank you so much for joining us, and great.
Thank you, everybody.
And
thank you.
We're on board to support you any way we can.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
With that, I'm going to introduce our next guest, who is Sue Altman, is running for New Jersey's House seat in Congressional District 7. She was, like Laura, also on Simon Rosenberg's list of the top 11 flip races. And I mean, a lot of amazing facts about Sue, but very impressive that she played basketball at Columbia. I believe you were at Columbia about the same time Pete was at Harvard. And your paths may also have crossed when you received your 2 degrees from Oxford. And like Tim Walz, Sue became a teacher and a coach, and led her team to at least 2 championships while she was coaching. So with that, I will let you take the floor.
Amazing. Thank you, Maggie. It is such a pleasure to be here. Hello, Pete people. This is awesome. What a crew. This is so great. I see people from all over the country. This is amazing. Mayor Pete and I I was at Columbia, he was at Harvard. We're exactly the same age. We're only a month apart, actually. But I've never met him, but we have like an absurd number of mutual friends. So I think I'm going to meet him one day. I'm a huge fan. Such an intellect, such an inspiration. And every time I hear him speak, I always pick up a little something. Like as a politician, you're talking to people all the time. And so when people give you smart stuff, you kind of file it away. And it's a little like filing cabinet in your brain. And every time I hear Mayor Pete talk, I'm always thinking, now that's something good. I'm going to have to adopt that for us. So I'm running here in NJ7. It is, like Laura's, one of the top swing districts in the whole country. It is, for those of you who know New Jersey, and I won't bore you with too much New Jersey geography, but if you were to slice New Jersey across the top third, it's what we call Central Jersey. It kind of cuts through the middle suburban part of the state. So on the New York side, we border like Staten Island, Lower Manhattan, and across on the other side, we border Bucks County. So we always hear about Bucks County because it's like a swing collar county of Philadelphia, like where Bucks County goes, the country goes. This is like the Bucks County of New Jersey area. So we have Rahway, Linden, Summit, Westfield, Clinton, Bridgewater, those types of places. I'm a former teacher, former professional basketball player. I wasn't quite good enough for the WNBA, so I played overseas in Europe. I did do 2 degrees at Oxford, did not overlap with Mayor Pete, just barely missed him, but am really delighted to be running in this district. It's extremely winnable. Tom Kean Jr. is my opponent. He is a no-show candidate. He hides from the press. He doesn't hold town halls. He's only finally agreed to debate us when I challenged him to a game of one-on-one. So I guess between the two things, a one-on-one game or a debate, he chose the debate, which remains to be seen if that was the right choice. But we're debating him in October. We've outraised him the last 2 quarters. So if you are in the New Jersey area, if you care about flipping the house, you can check out SueAltman.com. We are thrilled to be on the Harris-Walz ticket. It is a delight. There has been so much energy in our district. It's a high capacity for volunteering district. It is like an enthusiastic district, and we've knocked doors every single weekend, and we've seen such a spike in enthusiasm since the vice president has been at the top of the ticket. It's one thing to organize out of fear and trepidation and sort of trying to prevent something bad from happening. But as many of you know, because you're on this call, there's an entirely different feeling about organizing with people when you feel like history is on your side and you're doing the right thing. And there's actually an amazing, exciting outcome at the end of all this hard work. And for many of you, for many of us, I came up as an organizer. I was a grassroots leader in New Jersey for many years. We've been going at it since 2016. And when we win in November, it will be because we have gone at it hard on Zooms like this, in person, postcards, phone calls, phone banks, canvassing since the first beginnings of that terrible Trump era. And my God, none of us have aged at all, but it's been a hell of an 8 years. And this time we are going to take it to victory. So I want to thank you all for putting this together. This is the hard work of organizing. It is so great to find community with people all over the country, to find the common cause and the inspiration, because it's the grassroots that inspire me. And it's how I know. It's calls like this and groups like this, both locally and around the country, that make it possible to win and that give me the conviction that I know we as Democrats are going to flip lots of seats in November, and we are going to take back the presidency, take back the House, win down ballot races because of folks like you. So thank you so much for being on here tonight.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I think hopefully you'll get a lot of time to spend with Secretary Mayor Pete, when you're both in DC.
I guess I should say Secretary.
Come January. I don't know. Yeah, whatever his official capacity he's doing. So, and if you're able to stay on, I don't know, for a few minutes, we'd love to hear about this big grassroots project that we have that we're going to be launching tomorrow in your neck of the woods. So with that, I'm going to go back and share my screen. And just remind folks that, again, we've got these great candidates, and there's things that we need to do both on the ground. So that's going to be going to a key battleground area, knocking doors for candidates like Sue Altman and Laura Gillen, and also our, obviously Harris-Walz, doing the incredible, important poll observing work, which we need to do to get trained now. And then also, even after the election, there's important voter protection work in terms of curing ballots, helping absentee ballots that may have had some kind of flaw that can be corrected. And then things that we can all be doing, as Michelle Obama said, do something. We can be doing it anywhere, anytime. So we can be participating in the Barnstormers, which you'll hear about in 1 second, the Signs Across America that's going to launch tomorrow. We can all be making calls, sending texts, sending postcards and letters. Working the voter protection hotline is something that can be done remotely. And we all need to be information warriors, as well as there's work we can do on our North Carolina voter outreach project. And we'll go into explain both of those things a little bit more later. So with that, I am going to introduce Lisa Conley, who is also in New York and is going to explain what's going on with the Signs Across America that's launching tomorrow. And that's what I have our background. Joey and I both do. And we're so excited about this. So with that, Lisa.
Yes, thank you, Maggie. Happy Signs Across America Eve, everybody. I'm going to try to be quick because I know we have a lot of people who already know about the visibility campaign. We did it in 2020. We're going to do it again starting tomorrow. Going through September 9th, leading up to the presidential debate on Tuesday, where we're going to be kind of building these waves from east to west, September 6th through September 9th. We've already gotten some great previews of the amazing sign photos and videos from a lot of people who are participating, and we actually we cannot wait to see them all start rolling through in the Eastern time zone. Starting tomorrow. I do want to say, though, if you've never heard of this project before and you think it's too late to join, it's not. And I'm just going to give you a few sign hacks that you can use if you don't have these physical signs as part of the campaign. There are a few things that you can do. One is you can use a digital sign. So put it on your mobile device. You're going to need another mobile device to take your photos in your locations, wherever you are, but digital signs are totally fine. You can actually make your own on a piece of paper. That is perfectly acceptable. And if you have an existing sign from the campaign, just put the United For on top of it. And the reason why United For is so important is because it speaks to the broad democracy coalition across regions and political parties. We have a big tent and we want to speak to everybody. So everyone who fights for democracy needs to do something to make sure we win while we're doing the critical work of volunteering, phone banking, door knocking, voter protection, whatever your choice is, we have to do it. So I'm going to put a link to the event page in the chat that will tell you when and how to post your social media posts with your signed photos and videos and the tags to use. And again, it's not too late. Spread the word. Starts tomorrow, and we can't wait to see everybody out there.
Yeah, we're so excited. I know you guys have a big crew meeting up in New York. We're going to try and organize people in the Bay Area on Sunday. We'll send out something for folks trying to meet up around 10 o'clock on Sunday near Levi's Plaza. And then go all over the city on Sunday with our signs, and then possibly also Monday something in Marin for folks that are in the Bay Area.
Really fun. It's really fun. Gets you jazzed up, and also to get to work. It's a great motivator.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lisa. Incredible program. It's such a joy to have you on.
Thank you.
All right. Well, now we have our next guest. Are we going to go ahead and do that?
Yeah. Well, we can come back to that.
Okay, cool. Our next guest is Wisconsin Democratic Party Chairman Ben Wikler, who has been the chairman of the party in Wisconsin since July 2019. He's got an amazing sterling resume. He was former senior advisor at Move On. He's a campaign veteran. He's worked on 1 million campaigns. He was the co-founder of the Student Global AIDS campaign at Harvard, where he attended Circa Pete, which he can tell us more about. And he also wrote for The Onion and Al Franken, which I thought was pretty funny. He's a comedian too. Let's do.
You can tell from that picture.
I know he's got. Well, the cheese hat was one of the most memorable moments from that. We're really pleased to have him. And let's do. I guess do the little video and then let him take it away.
Let's have Ben go.
Yeah, let's go with Ben go first. Ben, I think you're muted. Oh.
Looks like he's frozen.
Yeah, let's
With
see.
that, maybe we will go back and play their quick video from
Yeah.
somebody very inspirational. It's 1 minute, we'll get reset and we'll be fired up. And this went directly to the Barnstormers
Very good timing.
a few years ago. You might recognize him.
Hey, Barnstormers, I just wanted to say thank you. Not only for everything you're doing to support my campaign, but for the work that you've done and will continue to do for our democracy. The support we've already seen from you and from the rest of Pete's supporters has been overwhelming. We're building a campaign with you that's about unity, and I want you to know that you have a home in our campaign. You're going to have a home in the administration. Now more than ever, you're just not wanted. You're really badly needed, for real. We've already seen your enthusiasm make the difference this year, and I'm honored. I really am honored to have you on the team. So thank you for doing the hard work of organizing. Let's get to work and let's win this together. This is critical that the country, and not just for the party. This is bigger than our party. Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You recognize him.
This has been with.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Maggie.
No problem. With that, take it away, Ben. Sorry.
Sounds good. It was great seeing the president. He was in Wisconsin today. He spoke in a community of 2,332 people and announced a $7.3 billion rural electrification program, the biggest rural electrification initiative since the New Deal, to bring renewable energy to communities like Western Wisconsin and rural communities across the country. And one reason why I'm so excited about this moment is that we've had this spectacularly successful, from the viewpoint of policy and making a difference in people's lives, Biden-Harris administration. And now that is coupled with the Harris-Walz ticket and the sweep, the blaze of energy across the country, hope and enthusiasm and joy. And the Peak community knows something about campaigning with joy and optimism and connecting with people in every corner of the country. And I think that's what we're seeing in Wisconsin right now and in all the battleground states right now. And I wanted to use this moment to talk about what it can mean, not just at the federal level, but also at the level of local government, to have the kind of energy that we're seeing that you're helping to fuel. I went to college at the same time, as I guess now Secretary Pete, and at that time Student Pete and future Mayor Pete. And he and I and so many other students would look for ways that we could volunteer and support Democrats who were running for office while we were in college. But we didn't have the kind of national virtual organizing ecosystem or the national fundraising ecosystem that exists now. It just did not exist in the same way. There would be busloads of students that would go from the Harvard's campus to New Hampshire during the 2000 election and try to knock on doors and help out. But you couldn't zero in on the states that were most likely to tip the entire country. Now that's changed. And now wherever you live, you can help to fund the Harris-Walz campaign and do grassroots organizing support for the places where elections come down to microscopic margins. And Wisconsin is kind of in the lead role among those states. We're the only state where 4 of the last 6 presidential elections have come down to less than 1 percentage point. When Pete was a mayor, he was able to demonstrate the effectiveness of strong leadership in a local government setting. And across Wisconsin, over the last 4 years, we've been able to see, when we have a partner in Washington, D.C., who actually believes in supporting effective government, what the American Rescue Plan has meant, what the Inflation Reduction Act has meant in communities around Wisconsin has been transformative. We've seen a flourishing in counties they're called the so-called left behind counties. There's been triple the rate of small business creation in those counties than there has been in the other counties that have also seen very strong business creation. There's been a shrinking of inequality after decades of growing inequality. There's this kind of opportunity now that we have. And in this moment, if we all do our jobs, we want to win this election. But if we can win big, if we can win even by a couple of percentage points in a state like Wisconsin, it can have enormous implications everywhere, and especially at the local level. So that's what I want to take a second to talk about, just to put more an underline, an exclamation point around the impact of the work at this moment. Now, I think we all collectively learned in 2016 that even when the polls say things are great, they can go terribly wrong. So I don't think anyone's taking this race for granted. But I want to talk about why it matters to keep building the margin of victory even more. The first one is insurance against a coup. The best insurance against a coup is a landslide. The US Supreme Court overturned the 2020 election in effect because we had a state in Florida that came down to a few hundred votes. And that's how you wind up with a case before the Supreme Court. In 2022, we did a miraculous thing in every battleground state, every race necessary to protect the sanctity of our democracy. We won. We won the Secretary of State's races. We won the governor's races in states like Wisconsin, where the governor certifies the election result. We won state Supreme Court races. And again, in states like Wisconsin, that mean that the people who could overturn an election, who could sabotage the election result in 2024, they are now people who believe in democracy. The one body that could overturn the election result is the US Supreme Court. And if we win by enough, we prevent that from happening. If we win by more than 1 percentage point in Wisconsin, then we prevent the possibility of a forced recount. And Trump, of course, in Wisconsin tried to force a recount just in 2 counties to disqualify ballots. But if we win by a little bit more than that, then in Wisconsin, we could flip the state assembly majority. There's a guy named Voss who's been a disaster for our state. If we can win by a bit more than 1 percentage point statewide, Voss stops being the Speaker of the Wisconsin State Assembly. He's replaced by Greta Neubauer, who will become the youngest and maybe the most dynamic state assembly speaker in the country. She's a dynamite climate organizer, activist who became an elected official and is now leading the Wisconsin Assembly Democrats. That happens if we win by a bit more than a point. If we can outperform in a handful of local districts or win big enough margins in the battleground states, in Arizona, we need 1 seat in the state assembly and state senate to get a Democratic trifecta. In Pennsylvania, 3 state senate seats get us a Democratic trifecta. In New Hampshire, we can add, I believe, 3 state senate seats and a 4 state assembly seats, something like that, to break the Republican trifecta. In Nevada, if we add 1 state senate seat and hold the assembly Dems, we get Democratic supermajorities. So even though there's a Republican governor, they will not. The Republicans' governor will be able to be overridden by the legislators who represent the communities around the state. In Minnesota, in Michigan, we can hold on to Democratic trifectas in those states to be able to keep legislating the way that Governor Walz did in Minnesota. And the list goes on. In Kansas, if we do well enough, we could actually break the Republican supermajority. Same thing in North Carolina. We have Democratic governors in both places. A single state legislative seat would give us the ability to sustain the governor's veto and prevent Republicans from doing bad things while we start doing good things in blue states that currently are shaking off the dust of Republican gerrymandering and moving toward Democratic trifecta status. And that means we can do the thing that is so overdue but so urgently important, which is to legislate at every level of government, to write our values into the law, to encode democracy not just into our hearts but into our statutes in all of these states, and MAGA-proof this country. This year is the year where we have the opportunity to do that, and not just stop bad stuff, but to actually bring about big changes that have enormous public popular support that Kamala Harris and Governor Walz are running on right now. Things that in some cases, Mayor Pete was a forerunner on. Things like addressing the corruption of the US Supreme Court. We have a chance to actually make a difference and pass these things and disrupt the cycle of cynicism that people have, where they think that even if they vote and organize, even if they elect Democrats, it doesn't make a difference. We can show that that's wrong by showing the difference that we can make. All that is within our grasp in the next 61 days. What each of us does in this precious, fleeting moment, how we spend our time, where we send our dollars, can not only save American democracy, it can bring about a new era of American democracy, of flourishing opportunity and respect for human dignity for everyone, no matter where they live, no matter who they love, no matter what they look like, all over this country. We have a chance to show ourselves who we can be at our best. That's what we're called to do. And I know that this community shows up in exactly that kind of fight. So that's why I'm so grateful to join everyone tonight. That's why I'm so fired up and excited here in the state of Wisconsin that's perpetually on a knife's edge. We can move off the knife's edge and start to build the kind of future that everyone deserves to live in. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. And I think there's been a lot of comments also, mainly also about your enthusiasm and your words of wisdom, but also the cow over your shoulder. But very, very, very fun. And our next speaker also has some fun artwork on above his other shoulder that people will know, his dog. And I'm sure you know our next speaker, Simon Rosenberg. But thank you so much, Ben, for joining us. And I saw that Amani Latimer Burrish, your former colleague, is on. So it's great to see her too. And we've got such great people in these states, and you're absolutely one of my Democratic heroes for what you've been able to do in Wisconsin. Such important work, and you're just very inspirational, and it's so wonderful to have you on. With that, I will introduce our next guest, is Simon Rosenberg, who is another one of my Democratic superheroes. He is the founder, longtime Democratic strategist. A number of people may have seen him on Lawrence O'Donnell, and he is the founder of Hopium Chronicles, and has been keeping me in particular as sane as can be in these last 2 years. He and Tom Bonnier were basically the only two people that were really correctly predicting the 2022 midterms and saying there would not be a red wave, and focusing on what they were seeing with the early vote and voter registration numbers. So with that, I will let Simon take it away. And that's his dog, Tug, over his left shoulder.
Tug over my shoulder here, my 12-year-old cranky English bulldog. Listen, Maggie, thank you. And it's been great to hang out with you over the last couple of years. How do I follow Ben Wikler? I mean, there was like not a
now you know what Barack Obama feels like.
No, there was not a single syllable or word out of place. He delivered so much information. I thought I had a good rap, and now I gotta go work harder to like match Ben. That was incredible. Look, I'm not gonna. You heard from Ben, so let me just sort of say that, I think I agree with everything he said. I mean, this is a moment of extraordinary opportunity for us. We're no longer operating from a place of fear and worry. We're operating from a place of joy and confidence and strength. And it's much better to operate there. I mean, one of the things that I think has been so hard for Democrats is that, we had the trauma of what happened in 2016. And then after 2020 and we won, our democracy was attacked, and COVID happened. And, there was so much reason to be worried that we were told a red wave was coming and we were going to get wiped out. And then in 2023 and 2024, Biden struggled and Trump was ahead. And so we had another year and a half of worry. And we've been sort of operating out of this place of worry and fear and defense. The red wave is coming. And now we're in a new place, right? We're in a new place now. We're not operating from fear and worry. We're operating from joy and strength and confidence. And one of the things that I talk to Democrats about is that there's never anything wrong with being ahead. Being ahead is good, right? You'd always rather be ahead in a campaign or in a sporting team, right? Being ahead is good. And we're ahead now. We're favored. I really believe that. I mean, we're not just leading the polls, but you're seeing all these measures, these things that Maggie talked about, that in 2022 that were so instrumental to me believing the red wave wasn't going to come. All these indicators of intensity, right? We're seeing it in the money that we're raising, the volunteerism, we're now seeing it in the measured enthusiasm of Democrats. We're seeing it in the new, much more positive voter registration numbers. We're seeing it we're hopefully going to see it soon in the early vote. We've seen it in battleground, special elections and midterm elections and off-year elections of all kinds, right? Our party is fired up. We're bringing it. And that intensity is what allowed us to prevent the red wave from coming in 2022. It's allowed, because what happened, I think, in the spring of 2022 is American politics changed irrevocably. Dobbs really, I think, broke the Republican Party, and it also created this intensity in our side. where we knew that the stakes were so high, that Trump had just stripped the rights and freedoms away of more than half the population, that the fear and worry, the legitimate concern about the dangers of MAGA became very manifest for all of us. And so we've seen this one election since the spring of 2022, where we've continued to overperform, we've continued to win elections of all kinds, and they've continued to struggle. And that's carried over even into 2024. And right now, the way to think about this is we've got a slight lead, but man, is our team much stronger than their team. We're going to be able to close. And that strength, as Ben was saying, was in part about all the work that we do. Coach Walz is right. We got to leave it all on the playing field now. And we're not doing it, though, because we're trying to catch up. We're trying to do it for all the reasons that Ben so elegantly articulated just a minute ago, which is that now we have the ability to turn this election into something that feels like a complete repudiation of MAGA. And that's what we all want. We want to go back to a time where there was a normal center-right party. Politics wasn't scary, right? That we could have disagreements, but our democracy wasn't going to end. The only way that's going to happen is if we run up the score and then we make this election a clear repudiation of MAGA. If we want to put MAGA into the dustbin of history where we all want it to, the only way Republicans are going to start walking away from it is if they feel that it's a loser of politics, that it doesn't work anymore. It never has really worked. And, Trump got lucky in 2016. He had the intervention of the FBI and the Russian government, which took a deflated candidacy and made it possible. And so he never had these superpowers or this strength that is so critical to the understanding. He's never been a strong man. He's been a baby man. He's been a coward. He's a weak and small man. And he's a pathetic man, an unfit man. He's unwell, and all these things that he is. And soon he's going to his sentencing for his 34, felony convictions in just 2 weeks. So just to build on what Ben said, just to conclude, Maggie, thank you for the opportunity to be with all of you, and thank you for all that you've done and all that you will do. Because the work we're about to go do is the most important work that any of us have done in the last 10 years, is that we have the chance now to do something deeply meaningful for the United States and for the people of the world, which is we can put MAGA into the dustbin of history where it belongs and not just beat Trump. And that's the opportunity. And I just want to challenge all of you to feel the joy of working from joy and not from working from fear. Because when you are winning and people are happy and you're working from joy, it's more attractive. More people come your way. So let's get this done. And remember, everyone, when we fight, we win. Thanks so much.
And also make sure to vote on day one, right? Early voting starts in what?
So I'll do that very quickly. Do you have time to do
sure.
that really quick? So part of the thing we've been pushing at Hopium is, and this is something you can take into all of your networks and communities, is that the way campaigns work is that when you vote, every night the campaign gets a list of everyone who voted that day, not how they voted, but that they voted. And then you come off the GOTV rolls, right? The faster we get through the prime voters, the more that prime voters, all of us, vote on day one, vote on day two, the quicker the campaign can get to lower propensity voters. So by voting on day one, this is something you can do that actually creates more Democratic votes. It enlarges our vote. It makes it more likely we win. So if you come to the Hopium site where it's free, we talk about this a lot. One of the things you can do to help Kamala Harris become the next president is by voting on day one and getting everyone that you know to join you. Because when we vote early, we create more Democrats and we make it more likely that we win. And this is a new thing that we're learning in this kind of new era of the early vote. This is the reason you may not have known about this is because we were an election day party up until very recently. Now we're an early vote. Now we're becoming an early vote party. And part of my goal here is that let's go win this election in October. Let's run up the score, make it possible for them to catch us and not win it in November. It's a shift in the way that we think about our elections now. Maggie, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And if you're watching Lawrence tonight, I'll be on with Stuart Stevens at 10:30.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Everybody. Okay, bye-bye.
Wow. So Simon, in addition to joining our call, was leading a postcard party, which he does every Thursday for his Hopium candidates. And this is the schedule, as you can see, if people would like to participate, of two of the speakers we had tonight, Laura Gillen, he'll be doing a Thursday postcarding party on September 26th, and then Sue Altman on October 10th. So just amazing. I encourage everybody, I think we put the link in the chat to join, and we'll also send in the follow-up to join Simon's Substack, which is free, Hopium Chronicles. It's just a wealth of information. And with that, want to focus just again, we've been all inspired. We've got 2 months or 61 days, however you want to count it, to do as Simon said and win this election and do what we can to put MAGA in the dustbin of history. So key areas where we need to focus are these key battleground states that we discussed before. And for folks that are in California and New York in particular, if you can't make it to one of these battleground states, really focus on the House races. For folks in like Montana or other areas, really key Senate race there with John Tester. We can make sure we can hold the Senate. So we can all be connecting with voters anywhere, anytime. We can be talking with our friends, encouraging them to make sure they're registered to vote, share the I will vote .com link. Also making sure that we tell everybody to vote on day one. Traditional calls to voters, both via text and phone, and also reaching out to voters via postcards and letters. So another thing we can all be doing is being an information warrior. We can be working, we're gonna try to form teams in a more organized fashion to do this. But we can all be sharing valuable and important information about VP Kamala Harris, Governor Walz, our Democratic candidates, the dangers of Project 2025, the incredible successes of the Biden-Harris administration, and overall also just the Democratic successes we've had since 1989. As Bill Clinton, mentioned in his DNC speech a couple weeks ago, 50-1. Remember this statistic. So since 1989, there have been 51 million jobs created. 50 of those jobs were created under Democratic administration, 1 million under Republican administrations. Very powerful when we want to argue and bring up facts about the economy with our Republican friends. So other things really important to making sure we talk about Project 2025, and super important to do this, as you can see, just it's very persuasive. The more people know about it and the dangers of it, it definitely changes people's minds and they want to vote against it. So one of our also Team Pete initiatives that we're going to focus on is in particular reaching out to voters in North Carolina that are harder to reach, that don't vote in North Carolina, but they're eligible to vote. They may be serving in the military. And Jeff Jackson, who's running for the Attorney General, he's a current House member, joined our group and just joined our group on a couple weeks ago on August 15th, and offered these really inspiring words about the opportunity in North Carolina. So we'll leave with that, and then we'll go into more quick details about the opportunity for our North Carolina voter outreach program.
The last month, just on the ground in North Carolina, has been a level of energy crashing into our state that I've never seen before. Something amazing is happening, and it's not fully captured yet in the polls or by the pundits, but the meeting I just came from, rural North Carolina, I showed up, a good turnout would have been 10 or 15 people, and the place was completely packed. It was like 60 or 70 people. That level of enthusiasm I've never seen before. The only comparison is 2008 Obama, and this could end up exceeding that. If you had asked me the day she got in, what's your level of confidence that Kamala's going to carry North Carolina, I would have said, I don't know, it's possible, but I am telling you right now, straight to you, she's going to carry North Carolina. And just by virtue of how time zones work, as soon as that is called, it means it's over. We could be the state that signifies to the entire country that we just elected our first female president and sent Donald Trump away into political pasture forever. North Carolina could effectively deliver that news to the entire country when it's announced that she has carried the state.
So with that, let's do our part to reach out to these key voters that are going to help put North Carolina into the blue column for us this November. Wes, do you want to talk about the program?
Sure, that's great. After that lineup of 4 main speakers, you're now down to the like sack lunch kind of level of speaker. But going after Jeff Jackson is a bit daunting, but bear with me. As he said, North Carolina is really in play, and it's very much, it's going to turn on how much ground field work that we do in that state. And all of us right now are looking for, what can I do to help in these next days and hours with crunch time coming? Where can I make the biggest difference? And Maggie and our group have definitely followed Jeff Jackson and Simon and others in evaluating North Carolina as a place where we can make a huge difference. In particular, there are about 150,000 North Carolina voters who aren't in North Carolina. As paradoxical as that seems, there are a lot of reasons that people are outside the state. And they can vote. They have voting rights no matter where they go. They don't necessarily get a lot of contact, though, to remind them how to vote or the basic rules that they have to follow to get their absentee ballot. And we believe, having looked at the numbers, that of that 150, there are about 42,000 unreached, likely blue voters that we're going to do our best to reach over the next closing days of this election. 3 basic strategies that we are intending to use. Number one is we want to put basic voting information in their hands. Absentee ballots don't work like other ballots. There's one particular site that people need to go to request their absentee ballot. So we want to put that site and that portal to the North Carolina absentee ballot site in their hands so that these voters have the information they need to request their ballot. And in fact, if as hard as it is to believe, North Carolina begins sending these absentee ballots to requesters tomorrow. We are hours away from this election beginning. North Carolina begins sending absentee ballots 60 days ahead of the election. So we have set up an Act Blue to send this a card with the basic information. It looks like this. I don't know if you can see it, but basically we give people in this category the basic information they need to get their ballot, and give them the information of how and when to do it. And we want this to go on their refrigerator, in their to-do list, so that they go from being I want to vote to this is how I do it, and this is exactly what I need to do it. So we're intending to send direct mail to about 12,000 likely blue voters that otherwise won't get that information. That's a critical piece to turning North Carolina blue, reaching these unreached voters. So please put what you can in our Act Blue account. It's in the chat. We will follow up with a link. The printer's ready to go. We have our data list. We need some more coins in our piggy bank to make this happen. So we're depending on grassroots power to power this vote. I want you to think about, just to give you a picture of who we're talking about. We're talking about a young person who enlists in the Army from Fayetteville. And the Army sends her to station to begin her military service in San Antonio. So we have to send a card to her in San Antonio to say, hey, don't forget that you can vote in North Carolina. And here's how you do it. Or think about a college student in the Raleigh-Durham area who is on study abroad. Our other strategy, in addition to direct mail, is relational organizing. To get to that person, we can't really get them by direct mail. We have to go with somebody they know. So we put together a relational tool. It's in Mobilize. We'll put that link in the chat as well, so that you can use that and share that with your groups. And that will help us get that voting information to them. And finally, advocacy and information. We need to get the basic sites about how and when to vote into our grassroots teams in North Carolina, into their hands, so that when they are knocking on doors, when they're talking to voters, and they come up with somebody like this family, say that this Army enlistee's family in Fayetteville, maybe they talk to her aunt or uncle, and the aunt says, well, I've got a niece who's in San Antonio. How does she vote? We want to make sure that the person knocking that door has that information at the ready. That's going to take some advocacy skills. So we are putting together a team an advocacy team. We need your creativity and insight. We're starting a meeting
Monday the 9th. And we'll
Monday the
put the Zoom link. Thank you. This is such important work. I believe we've had a couple super generous donors agree to do a match, I think up to about $1,000 on tonight's call. So if people can give some small dollar donations, your match will be doubled. And we are going to have to put that postcard order in tomorrow. So the more money we can raise, the more we don't very rarely ask for people for money. But the more money we can raise, the more people we can reach for this really important project. So thank you, Wes.
Yeah.
And just as people can see, like the margins in these states, and as Alexis mentioned in her presentation, are so small. So every little bit makes such a difference, and we want to flip North Carolina this November. So we've got 61 days left, 2 months. These are the things we all need to be doing. So educating voters about the success of our candidates, the dangers of Project 2025. Mobilizing our community members to volunteer. So encourage more people to join our community, get involved, and then still encouraging some donations to key Senate and House candidates, and also voter registration efforts. So key dates that we have coming up for our team, Pete for Harris-Walz. We got the Signs Across America. I hope everybody will participate no matter where you are. That starts tomorrow, goes through Monday. And then for folks that want to work on the North Carolina project and turning North Carolina blue, they'll have their first organizing call this Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. And we will gather together as our Team Pete organizing and doing an organizing call where we're going to put together our teams, have leaders, and check in about all the work we'll be doing in the final 6 weeks of the campaign on Sunday, September 15th. I believe we have a link for that. We can also be posting in the chat to sign up for that. So that'll be at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. And with everything we do, we want to remind people, whether it's these calls, whether it's the volunteer work we're doing on the ground or the voter protection work, we want to always adhere to Pete's rules of the road. I think we all felt a lot of joy on today's call, and a lot of also these other rules of the road that have been so important to us since we first learned of them in Pete's campaign in 2019. And then one extra rule of the road that I want to add is that as Coach Walz has said, we can believe we can absolutely do this, as we heard from all of our speakers tonight. So inspiring. We can make this. We can flip the House. We can give them a significant majority in the House. We can elect Kamala and Tim at the top, and we can absolutely work to put MAGA in the dustbin of history where it belongs. And we're all doing this, because as Pete said in his DNC speech a few weeks ago, to really usher in a new era of politics. We can have the types of leaders and representatives that we heard from today if we do the work in these next 61 days. And we've got to do it to make it happen. So with that, I will play our inspirational video put together by Brooke Snyder of our Team Pete group.
Respect is the first, our guiding light. Respect. Belonging to bond, it feels so right. Belonging. Truth is the path we always choose. With teamwork together, we can move. Teamwork, we're Team Pete. This is how we roll. By the rules of the road, we take control. Joy in our hearts, truth by our side. We take peace, let's enjoy the ride. Never strives treats us, we lead with carefulness. Responsibility means we're always there. Responsibility. Substance and law, we take pride in our deed within it. Let's enjoy the ride. Discipline helps us grow mighty. This is how we roll. By the rules of the road, we take control. Joy in our hearts, stood by our side. Within peace, let's enjoy the ride. Excellence guides us to reach for the stars. Excellence. Joy in the journey, no matter how far. Together we stand with pride and grace. These are the rules that set our pace. Excellence guides us to reach for us. Joy in the journey, no matter how far. Together we stand with pride and grace. These are the rules that set our pace. This is how we roll. By the rules of the road, we take control. Joy in our hearts, stood by our side. We'll take it, let's enjoy the ride. Excellence guides us to reach for the stars. Excellence. Joy in the journey, no matter how far. Together we stand with pride and grace. These are the rules that set our pace. We're taking, this is how we roll. By the rules of the road, we take control. Joy in the journey, no matter how far. Together we stand with pride and grace. These are the rules that set our pace. This is how we do.
Amazing, 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 amazing.
All right.
And if folks knew how quickly Brooke was able to make that, you'd be even more impressed by it. Absolutely, absolutely wonderful. He's doing all of our artwork too for any of our promos, and he has just been amazing to work with. So huge hand to him, huge hand to everybody. Hope everybody's fired up for these next 2 months. Let's work together. Let's get this done. I hope everybody can get there. I love Sheila's got her sign behind her.
Yeah.
We're fired up, ready to go, and participate in Lisa's, the Signs Across America. We can do this. And hopefully we'll see you all on the North Carolina call on the 9th, or, actually in person at the Signs Across America. And then hopefully also on the 15th for our organizing call. And everybody remember we have the debate. I think it's next Tuesday. I'm just loading up the refrigerator with enough alcohol. So we'll be ready to go. So stay focused, keep working hard. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Hope
Sorry
to
we went
see
a
you
few
again
minutes
on
long,
Monday.
but we had amazing speakers we had to get to. So thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for showing up, and thanks to everybody who put all their work into this. See you later.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Recording stopped.
Thanks. Oh my God. Hang on.